I jerk awake from the dream, sweat running down my forehead, breath catching in my throat. The hum of office lights greets me as I find myself back in the chair in front of my laptop, the clock ticking very slowly towards the end of a Monday evening, and the atmosphere is thick with the usual after-lunch drowsiness. My manager, Sidhar, sits slouched in his chair, rubbing his temples, while my colleagues are barely holding their heads up, eyes drooping as they mindlessly tap at their keyboards. The air conditioner hums softly with the sound of keyboards, making the Monday more sluggish. Sensing the overwhelming dullness, Sijo lets out a sigh. All right, we're not getting any work done like this. How about a story just to pass the time? His eyes land on me with a half smile, more awake than the rest of the room. Surya, you're good with words. Why don't you tell us a short story? I glance around at my co-workers. Aparna slides a little back from her table with a wide smile. Rahul and Ajit raising their heads just enough to look interested. With everyone waiting, I take a glance at them again. What do I say? All of you have already heard all of my stories. Say whatever comes to your mind, man. That will be less boring than this, Sijo says, pointing at his work on the laptop. As he was saying this, all 7 of my colleagues were sliding their chair away from the table to see me and formed a rough parabola. They reminded me of me and my cousins when we were children at our grandmother's place, pleading her to say stories. I looked at all of them and thought with a smile on my face, what the hell, let me tell you a story. Without knowing what to say, I cleared my throat and started. Long ago in a distant land, there was a man named Surya. He was brave, adventurous, and I paused, noticing the bored smile on my colleagues' faces, barely hanging on to my words. My manager is leaning back in his chair, expectant but clearly tired. I look at the ceiling and lets out a long sigh. My mind drifts for a moment. Without realizing it, my story shifts. He was standing in a vast pitch-black room where the edges are swallowed by the void. The silence presses in, thick and heavy, as though the darkness itself is alive. He's trying hard to remember where he is and how he reached there. As he was looking around for anything that he can make a sense of, before him, a swirling mass of shadow begins to take shape. At first, a dark cloud, twisting and churning in the air. Slowly it contorts, transforming into the unmistakable form of a snake. Its movements are sinuous and unsettling, gliding towards him through the darkness without sound. But as he stares, the snake's body begins to shift once more, elongating, limbs forming where there were none. It changes into the silhouette of a woman, a tall, elegant, yet featureless, her face veiled in an impenetrable mist. He strains to make out her features, his heart pounding, but just as he reaches out, everything fades. I notice everyone's face squinting. At least office lights greets him as he finds himself back in the chair in front of his laptop, the clock ticking slowly towards the end of a Monday evening, and the atmosphere is thick with the usual after-lunch drowsiness. Surya's manager sits slouched in his chair, rubbing his temples, while his colleagues are barely holding their heads up, eyes drooping as they mindlessly tap at their keyboards. The air conditioner hums softly with the sound of keyboards, making the Monday more sluggish. I glance up and notice more squinting faces. With a half smile, I continue. Sensing the overwhelming lull, Manager Sijo lets out a sigh. All right, we're not getting any work done like this. How about a story just to pass the time? His eyes land on Surya with a half smile, more awake than the rest of the room. Surya, you're good with words. Why don't you give it a go? I hear a few chuckles from Reshma and Sudhi and feel the mood lighten, and I continue. Then I say, let me tell you a story